Welcome to episode 22 of the Webcomic Beacon Presents First Issue.
I'm Marcus.
I'm Melissa.
And I'm Fes. Today we're going to take a look at Frankenstein, agent of S.H.A.D.E. Number 1.
Just call it Hellboy.
So this cover, the first thing I have to point out about this cover is, what the fuck, machine gun penis?
You know,
Yes,
yeah.
Machine Gun Penis is beautiful.
You know, this cover makes me say this is either really lame or the awesomest thing on the planet.
The only thing better than one urethra is like 7.
Anyway, so we have a scene that looks like a scene. It's got a background. We got the heroes in the midst. Which, as far as the cover goes, is like, I prefer this more than just like a color backdrop.
Yeah, at least they're doing
there's
something.
something going on. It's not just charging at the reader, even though it looks like he's gonna fuck you with a machine gun penis.
I also like the fact that this is from the POV of the monster.
It is.
Yeah,
You, the monster, and you have multiple arms and sharp things and a tail.
Tentacle. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Hentacle, man. It's beautiful.
However, I'm not totally convinced that this guy in front is going to take me out, because he's holding this huge, heavy weapon, and he's holding a sword. He's completely unbalanced and probably inept to actually use either one efficiently. Okay, obviously you're Mr. Over the Top.
Well, but hey, dude, if he doesn't get you, then fucking Hit Girl back there will. And maybe Shiva from Mortal Kombat 3 might get you if Hit Girl doesn't do it.
I think it's a decent cover. I can't really say too much bad things about it.
As a fan of the Universal monsters, that is not Frankenstein. That is Frankenstein's monster.
Right.
Yeah, we can go. Oh dear.
However, according to this,
they do touch on that.
They touch on that a little bit.
That.
We'll get to that in a little bit.
But
so
you know, I look at that cover and that's the first thing I think of. Is this? That's Frankenstein's monster. That's
Well,
not
it's
Frankenstein.
the Universal Monsters version where they just said fuck it. So that's why they're just like, look, everyone's gonna call him Frankenstein. We named the movie Frankenstein. They only remember the monster. We're just gonna call the fucking guy Frankenstein. Forget it. Everyone can feel good about themselves by pointing this out for the rest of the fucking eternity. And they just kind of left it at that.
Speaking about a feel-good intro, we got Grandpa and his grandson and the dog, and they're going fishing. And then the dog runs away and then gets skinned alive. And these monsters come out and...
It turns into a feast pretty much from here.
So yeah, we get a really... This is like the setting for like, okay, this is that going to be that kind of comic.
Yeah, just tell you what they're about from the start.
However, I do have some concerns about the art. I look at on page 2, we got the dog at the top who's going grrr, but his expression goes
Yeah.
Is what the expression of the dog looks like. And then when he runs away, he looks like a warthog.
Yeah, he does kind of change breeds. I mean, like...
Yeah, the art is very fast and loose. There's a lot of life to it, you know, and I kind of like it for that.
I mean, I do kind of like that too.
Yeah, it's a very expressive style. You know, this is something that you're not going to be able to nitpick on that those fingers aren't all the right length, sort of level. But it is an interesting art style. The coloring, I think, is what makes it work.
Yes.
The muted palette is very, very nice, and although man, there are a lot of words.
There's a lot of detail
There are a lot
too.
of words.
Lots of words.
There are so many words.
The only thing that did really bother me about the words was that you have this muted color palette, this darker color palette, and then with that you have all of your captions, which are done with a black background and this sort of like
pastel blue
sort of font, which would be okay in and of itself in small doses. But as much of it as there is here, and we're talking at least, like, I mean, there's a panel here. We're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different panels you have to read. About 3 of these, though, are not actual panels that give you information. They're panels that describe you as though you were, like, typing on a DOS computer requesting the information.
And
then the following panel gives you that, the following caption, gives you that information. Yeah, so it seemed to me it slowed it down and just made it very frustrating to read, and I didn't read most of these.
It's a computer talking to you. The narration is a computer, and it's active within the storyline. actually. So.
There's also a healthy dose of there are a lot of different fonts being used. Pretty much everybody who speaks in the comic has a different style lettering balloon and a different font, and in part that's probably to keep you from going insane trying to keep track of the bazillion characters that they are introducing.
I really appreciate that.
And I call this Sandman disease. Because
oh shit! Okay, continue. I understand already.
Because the comic Sandman was the first to really do a lot of this, where each character had their own lettering style, and it was really cool at the time. But here it feels like it's being used as kind of a symptom of they're trying to do a lot in 20 pages.
Yeah,
they're trying to squeeze a lot of new characters in. And I don't think it entirely works. It's really hard to get into this story just because they're throwing just so much information at you.
Yeah, and I definitely appreciate the effort, because by the time I was done, I have a whole new set of characters and a whole new subsetting in my head now.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to read the second issue, I could definitely get right back into where I was, because while it does is essentially a forced info dump, because I don't know the last time these characters were used in this capacity, if they ever really were prior to this. Where it's essentially, Hellboy featuring Hit Girl, who is Father Time or something, and then they've got the other Universal monsters are his backup squad.
Well, we're not even to that point yet.
Well,
I wanted to talk about.
Oh, we're going to cut down on all the narration.
I'm not cutting. I'm not narrating. I'm just saying it's like, okay, the comic starts off basically as Frankenstein's monster, aka Frankenstein, Agent Frankenstein. Sorry, comes to this. I guess this little. From what I'm gathering, from what all this text is telling me, there's this orb floating in New York City, and basically you teleport into it by shrinking down into it, and there's a micro city within it, and there's blah, 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 blah. There's all this stuff that you don't even see. But they tell you. They be sure to tell you.
Oh, they tell you a lot.
Yes.
Especially, for example, by the time you're done with this, you're going to know exactly how that little bubble is powered.
Yes.
And precisely what all of the little servants are.
Although, by goodness...
which we never see them doing anything.
They only show up for that one panel.
But they tell us what they do.
Yeah.
Okay, but the technobabble.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes my brain hurt.
If you like to read, forget about it. But, okay, so we're introduced to our characters. We have Agent Frankenstein in here, meeting a small girl character with a mask on in a schoolgirl's outfit, and he calls her father.
Yeah, I thought it was Dr. Frankenstein at first.
Yeah, so...
And that would have been awesome.
Hell yeah!
Apparently, his father, or creator, or whatever we're talking about, Dr. Frankenstein, quote... Every decade, I randomly generate a new body to act as my host. The old one was past due. Is this going to be a problem for you? And
it's Father Time. That's why he calls him father. It's not.
Is it Father Time?
Yeah, it is not literally his father. It's Father Time.
Well, okay. Well, see,
father being the first name.
As a number one, as a new reader, I didn't know that, and so I gathered that
they call her Father Time 6 times.
Really, Father Time? I just see
now,
Father.
Now, I can definitely understand why you didn't read that, because
there's so much.
Fuck knows that I didn't read half of the shit in this comic.
Well,
I just got lucky in that happened to be one of the panels that I did actually read from start to finish.
Freud would have a field day already. Is all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Well,
this is not making sense.
That's just a joke. It's just like, oh, why would someone who's ostensibly characterized as a male figure be a small little girl with a domino mask? The domino mask still, I don't get. Like, what the fuck are you hiding your fucking identity? People call you Father Time to your face.
Yeah.
What the hell's wrong?
But here's the thing with that. It's like, even me as a new reader, I looked at this and thinking about kind of knowing what the DC number one thing is. It seemed like, oh, you just did that for readers. You picked a little girl in a schoolgirl outfit for the readers. Story wise, there's no reason for it. Yeah, it's like, okay. Anyway, we got to move on a little bit. Basically, there's some shit going down. There's these monsters coming out that we were introduced at the beginning, and these guys got to go in and stop it.
If you've ever seen the movie Feast, basically it's Hellboy versus Feast. That's what's going on.
Yeah.
There's a billion monsters. They eat everything super fast. They're either a million of them to start with, or they're reproducing extremely quickly. And nobody can fucking take them because there's so many and they're so powerful.
Right.
It's Hellboy versus Feast.
So, basically, trying to...
Which, that's not a criticism. That is fucking awesome. Let me just make sure that's clear. Because I love that idea, because it kind of goes for the whole horror theme thing where it's like you're looking at the universal monsters are as backup. Okay, you've got the creature from the Black Lagoon. In this case, is female. You've got the Wolfman. You've got
this is where we get all like these universal characters.
The Mummy, and they're all fighting the fucking new piece of shit monsters from Feast that are like to me kind of represent like the new wave of horror in monster flicks. And you have like the old versus the new in this kind of like battle arena situation for all intents and purposes, because they're just fighting inside one city. There's one setting for this. Whether it's a city or a goddamn ring with 4 corners and ropes in between, it doesn't really matter. What you're dealing with is the same basic idea. You've got like old school monsters versus new school monsters, and that I think is awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's totally Hellboy.
Oh yeah, oh god.
I mean, you even have Abe Sapien.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like
it's a girl though.
It's
so
chicks, so it's like
it's better.
What was Abe's wife's name?
Now they didn't they say?
Yeah,
turn back to that she engineered herself through eugenics.
She transformed herself into an amphibian-human hybrid via cutting-edge eugenics.
What?
I don't think eugenics means what you think it means.
Maybe she's like a Buddhist and she believes she was reincarnated from the original scientists, so she just went from generations and generations of having men fuck sharks, and then those sharks
she put her brain
sharks.
She brain transplanted after all the breeding. I guess
that better be the case, because that actually would be awesome.
It works.
That's another way it would be cool.
Basically, this comic is a lot of, we're going to tell you everything up front, and then we're going to give you a bunch of action, and then I don't know. It's like they go in. They're trying to find survivors.
Spoiler. They find
spoiler.
How is this? This doesn't spoil anything.
It's totally. Come on, it's a spoiler.
How is it a spoiler?
It's the
first Marvel crossover since DC versus.
It's not actually. They find that's not really a spoiler.
We're not saying
I don't understand what's the point of this.
It's a freaking spoiler.
There's okay.
Spoiler.
I don't know how that's even a problem.
All
actually,
right. Cut back in. Whether or not that is a spoiler, I would have to say I don't see how this is a spoiler. I don't see how this is supposed to be. What's going to happen next? And it's like, okay.
This is kind of what you're. To me, this is what they were expecting to find anyway. So okay.
I didn't. Yeah, it's like you. How did you not expect something like this? It's okay. So now what are you going to do? Well, you're going to do what you were planning, and then. All right, then go back and kill the rest of the monsters. Like this doesn't tell me anything.
Now, it's still the last page.
Yeah, it's the last page. But the way I would put it is, I would call this more of a spoiler if their job was to go in and kill,
or
then that would make this a dilemma and an actually interesting panel.
Or what they found had some sort of significance that we as a reader would know is a significance.
Maybe it is. Maybe this is. That would be hilarious. It's like, awesome. Oh no, like the New 52. We were just feigning all that shit. This is just the start of DC versus Marvel. We're going to be one company, bitch. Because Disney's buying Warner Brothers, and guess what we did? I don't fucking know.
Actually, this would be DC versus Dark Horse.
Yeah. Oh, well.
So, this is the first time I'm actually going to say this is my first 2 potential. Because you guys have given, like, well, if this, or if that. Well, if you like to read a lot... and
one would expect.
If you like to read a lot and you like monsters, this is a thumbs up. I think for the average reader, it's going to be a meh or a thumbs down.
Yeah.
As a number 1, it does tell you everything you basically need to know about the characters and the setup and the plot, but that's basically about all it does. I'm not invested in any particular character because they introduce so many characters, and they also don't go into enough about the characters. Mostly, I'm going to have to go to Matt.
I'll give this one a thumbs up if you are really into either the Universal Monsters or Hellboy. And this kind of or Star Trek, even. I'll say Star Trek, especially Next Generation, if you like technobabble. Lots and lots of technobabble where...
And it's babble.
Yeah, and where you could conceivably see them making like a Silmarillion-sized fucking like backlog of information about this thing. Because when I first read this, I was like, okay, is this from the 40s and had been going unbeknownst to me until the present day? Because of all the information they have, is a lot of imagination at work. There is a shitload of thought that went into this. This is not something someone threw together at the last second or drew and then like haphazardly threw some words on top of later. This shit is pure love. Like, somebody put their fucking ass into this. Okay, nothing half-assed going on here by any stretch of the imagination. If you're cool with having to read through a lot of technobabble or just kind of understanding what parts to kind of skip, you're going to have a great time with this. Especially if you're a fan of monsters, monster movies, and you just want to see what is a setup to a kick-ass brawl. I mean, this looks like it is going to be a lot of fun, just friggin' going in and a very simple premise with complications. You know, that sort of almost like a military kind of setup. This is going to be your book, so I'm going to succeed.
All right, I'm going to give it a meh because I think the storytelling is really fairly clumsy in this book. But the base concept is awesome.
Yes.
With the one caveat of, if I want to read Hellboy, I'll go read Hellboy. But, it is a fun concept. I would be interested to see where this goes from here. But I don't know if I feel like wading through it to get to the story. So that is my take on it. Your mileage may vary.
And that's Frankenstein, Agent of S.H.A.D.E, #1 by DC Comics.
Okay.